that this heart of mine embraces all day through. In that small cafe, the park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut trees, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's light and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon. I'll be seeing you.
Hey, you know what? Here you go.
Are you sure, mister?
Yeah.
Be careful.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Brooklyn-bound local train is now arriving. Please stand away from the platform edge, especially when trains are entering and leaving the station.
Why?
Why? Why what?
Why?
Oh, this? Yeah, I was just running for the train and I slipped. Oh, shit, that hurt.
Why?
Who are you? Where are you? Hello? You still here?
I'm everywhere.
Am I dead? Is that the light that they talk about? You God? Universe? Am I dead? Shit. Sorry about the shit. Is it okay I said shit?
I don't give a fuck.
Well, I didn't expect that.
Why?
What's with the shoes?
They're the shoes of those who also did what you did.
Who are they?
The deciders.
The deciders. Decide what? If I go to heaven,
There's no hell.
no?
No. They will decide if you go back and complete yourself, or if you stay.
Stay? Complete myself? I don't understand.
What you went back to learn. It is as you've always believed, that you are born to learn certain lessons, and once you've completed your lessons, you pass on.
Pass on?
Pass on.
Pass on to what?
Or you can become a decider.
Like these guys?
Exactly.
Well, that don't look so bad. Hey, how you like being a decider? What?
Don't.
Well, I was just asking them.
You know what?
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So this doesn't look so bad. Right? I mean, I assume this is just like what they do for a job. That they have fun too. Right? I mean, they're not just deciding all the time. Right?
Right.
Okay. So not so bad.
Not so bad.
Okay. All right, I'm
But
okay.
you don't get to complete yourself.
Yeah. What does that even mean? Huh? I mean, all right, at one time I thought about embracing Buddhism, and then I found the goal was to achieve nothingness. Not for nothing, I don't want to work that hard to become nothing. Doesn't appeal to me.
That's not what happens.
Was not?
No.
Could you tell me what does?
No.
Oh, okay, I just thought I'd ask.
Even if you decide you like to go back, it's no longer up to you because of what you did.
It's up to the deciders to decide.
Yes.
Okay. I'm okay with
And
that.
this is your last go around.
My last goal.
Go around. This is your third and final time. All the doers get 3 times.
The doers?
Doers. You're a doer. There are doers and there are watchers. The watchers attach themselves to doers as spirit guides, and as you complete yourself and advance, they advance. If you go to the light, they will follow.
What would you want to do if you were me?
What do you think?
Yeah, but I gotta tell you, it ain't so easy down there.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, well, it's not. What's that?
That's the sounds of the children that were never born because of those who did what you just tried to do. Why?
I don't know. I thought when I did what I did, it would be best for everyone involved.
How so?
Well, for me, I thought it would stop the pain.
And for your friends, your family, your son, Matthew.
Listen, I've been struggling so badly, career-wise, relationship-wise, trying to make a living. I thought when I did what I did, he'd be better off with the money he'd get from my life insurance policy.
That's what you thought? You know what? Just come and join the others.
What?
We're done here.
Wait, what about the deciders? I thought you said...
I'm the grand decider.
Wait a
and
minute,
I think
wait a second. You already said the deciders were going to decide, right? So can we just do that? I mean, can we just see what they decide? I think I'd like to go back and complete myself.
You think you'd like to go back and complete yourself?
Yes, I do.
You sure?
I'm positive.
All right. This should be interesting.
Okay, thank you. So what am I supposed to do?
The way this works is one of the deciders spins the wheel and pulls out a wooden piece that has one of the events of your life on it. And you will tell us what happened. The deciders will continue to pull these events one by one until we've heard enough to make a decision.
Events from my life?
Key moments, actually.
So that could be anything, right?
Anything. For example, you were in the Navy, correct?
Correct.
Why did you join?
Well, the Vietnam War was on, and I wanted to serve my country. Oh, shit, okay. All right. I robbed a drive-in, and I thought I was going to go to jail.
You going to tell the truth?
Yes, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me. You?
All right. Anthony, make yourself comfortable, because we're going to be here for a little while. Okay, let's have Daisy spin the wheel, select a tablet, and hand it to Anthony. And you can tell us why you did what you did.
Okay.
And then when you are done speaking, another of the deciders will come up, spin the wheel, until I think we've heard enough. Let's get this started. Daisy.
All right.
Oh, shit. Arrested in Recife in Genoa. I was in the Navy, and I was 17 when I went in the Navy, right? So I was a real wise guy. And I wanted to get away from people like my father. Now, I'm surrounded by people like my father. Everybody's telling me what to do. I didn't like it. Had a top secret, special category clearance. I was on a spy ship in the Middle East. And Recife, I had been to this place the night before called Tony's Drinks. And you had to be careful, you know, with the cab drivers, we were told. And before we got in the cab, I said, how much to go to Tony's Drinks? And he said, 7 caseros, I think. It was something like that. It was only a few dollars. So me and my friends, we got in the car. And this doesn't seem like the way we went the night before. And we're driving around, and he's pointing things out. And I said, listen, you know what, why don't we just stop here, we'll get something to eat. So we stop, and he says, okay, 14 caseros. I said, no, I asked you before we got in the car how much. You told me 7. He says, no, but I took you here. I said, hey, nobody asked you to take us anywhere. I said, just take us to Tony's Drinks. So we gave him 7, and now he's screaming at us. And we walk into the restaurant, and he must have parked the car, because then he follows us into the restaurant, screaming about how we don't pay. And I'm telling him, listen, don't listen to this guy. We asked him, and we couldn't stay there. So we got in another cab. I said, how much to get to Tony's Drinks? And he says, 4 caseros, because we were a little closer. And I said, okay. So we start to drive, and the first cab pulls up, and he's yelling something to him. I say, hey, don't listen to that guy. And he goes, no, I don't listen. And he pulls up in front of the police station, and the cops come out and arrest us. Yeah, with machine guns, right? And I'm like, holy shit. So they bring us inside, nobody speaks English, and I hear something in the back cell. It sounds like women. It sounds like women laughing. And apparently prostitution was legal there, but they had to be registered. So while he's talking to my friends, I'm just kind of walking to the back, and I just see all these girls, and they see me, and they start saying things, and it's like, I just want to understand this. If we don't pay you, because they want us to pay the other cab, you're going to put us in the cell? And he said, he nodded yeah, and he said, all right. I mean, really, that's what we were looking for anyway. So a madam came. She was from Pittsburgh, actually. She bailed us out, and she let us come to her place. She told us it wasn't very, very safe. It wasn't going to be very pleasant for us if we did get arrested and have to go to jail. And we went to Italy. It was New Year's Eve, and we were in Genoa. And apparently, New Year's Eve, they throw the old stuff out the window. We didn't know this. We thought they were throwing it at us. We were drunk. We were very drunk. And we're walking through this alleyway, and this car comes by, and I didn't see, my friends had bounced the car as they passed it. So now by the time I pass it, they were out of the car and in the trunk and got a tire iron and change, and they're chasing us. And we're running down the street, and we're running, and there's all these bags and there's all these garbage. I said, guys, let's just take this garbage and throw it at them. So we start throwing the garbage at these guys, and these guys are really drunk. I'm really drunk, and it's bouncing off buildings, and now we got, the whole town is chasing us. Everybody's chasing us. So as we was running, we see the second highest officer standing there, and I said, listen, Mr. Higgins, I think you better come with us. He goes, why? And then he sees all the people chasing us, so he starts running with us, right? So the cop cars come, so we figure, okay, we're safe. Those people disperse, and these little cop cars come out, and the cops come out, and Mr. Higgins is trying to explain what's going on, and the cop smacks him. And I said, Mr. Higgins, I don't think that officership means anything to these guys. And it was nice seeing him get hit, because I couldn't stand this guy. So we get arrested, we each get into the little thing, and they take us to the booth, and we got to get bailed out by the executive officer, right? So then as time goes on, we get captain's mast. At this point, I had already had 4 captain's masts. Captain's mast, where you get in trouble, you got to go, to court. So then I got Cinderella Liberty for the next couple of ports that we went to. Cinderella Liberty means you got to be back at midnight. But the first port, we went back to Naples. I had been out early, and I had met this girl, Maria. But I had to get back to the ship, because I had to be back before midnight. But I so wanted to go back to see Maria. And I was on a small ship. I was on a destroyer escort. So we were able to pull into the docks. Well, I waited till the watch wasn't watching. And I climbed over the side of the ship and down the rope and went to spend time with Maria. By the time I got back at 4 o'clock in the morning, the tide came up. And the ship was now up there. I couldn't come, so I had to shimmy up the rope. Anyway, if there was a rule, I broke it. But anyway, so I got arrested twice. I never got arrested in the States, though. I've never been arrested here, if that counts for anything. So, yeah, so that's that.
Deciders, one of you spin the wheel and select the story.
Thank you. Oh, back in the Navy, Radio Manet School. So, I already told you why I joined the Navy. I robbed a drive-in with my friend Eddie. I used to work at the drive-in. I used to work in the concession stand. I didn't get along good with the owner, and she fired me, but I kept my key. So when we go out drinking, we'd stop by, get huge bags of popcorn, go out. And then one day, Eddie says, Tony, you know where they keep the money, right? I said, yeah. He goes, why don't we rob it? I said, all right. Sounds good to me. So we rob it, but we rob it. I had the key and it had like a bolt lock, right? So I thought it could look like somebody had a hacksaw and was able to just saw through this bolt. So we did it while the movie was on. And we messed the place up a little bit because the food was just back there with the concessions. And the next day I had a girlfriend who worked at Alicia. She says, the cops came. I said, oh, what happened? They think whoever robbed the place must have a key because it looks like they were breaking out of the door, not into the door. By the way, the teeth cut the metal. And I'm like, oh shit. So what do they think about it? And I said, well, I forget the boss's name. She says she thinks she can't remember if you ever gave back the key or not. I said, I gave back the key. You were with me when I gave back the key. She goes, I don't remember that. I said, you don't remember? You were right there. I gave her the key. You don't remember that? So now I'm getting nervous. I'm thinking, oh, my father will kill me if the police come. So I went to find out about the Navy. I was 17. So they said, 17, you can't just join. Somebody's going to have to sign for you. And I figured, there's no way. Vietnam's on. There's no way my father might. There's no way my mother's signing me into the Navy. So I take all the tests, and the recruiter, what a bullshit artist, man. He says, what? Oh my God. He says, you scored pretty good on the test, so you could pick 2, 3, 4, or 6 years. I said, well, let's just start with 2. He says, what kind of job you want? I said, I don't know. He goes, well, where do you want to be, go to boot camp? I said, I don't know, where are they? He said, there's one in Florida, there's one in Great Lakes, Illinois, there's one in San Diego. I said, I always wanted to go to California, how about San Diego? He goes, the waves are in Florida. I said, what's the waves? He said, the girls. I said, I go to Florida. He said, then he said, what kind of job you want to do? So he brought up about the girls. I said, which job has the most girls? He said, radioman. I said, I'd be a radioman. If you get home ported overseas, where do you want to be? I said, Sweden. He goes, all right, Sweden. It's called a dream sheet, and it's like, keep on dreaming. There wasn't even a base in Sweden. What kind of ship you want to be on? I said, I don't know, I've never been on a ship, I might get seasick, so maybe an aircraft carrier? All right, aircraft carrier. Doesn't work out that way. So anyway, I go in the Navy. I never flew before. It was my first time on a plane, so my father took me. But before that, I had to go home, and my mother was folding clothes, and it said, Mom, I'm thinking of joining in the Navy. I said, but I can't because I'm only 17, so I can't just sign up. I need you or Dad to sign. And my mother says, where do I sign? It's like, where do you sign? My mother never made a decision without my father, and now all of a sudden it's, where do I sign? I said, well, wait, maybe we should wait till Dad gets home. And now I know I'm fucked. He can't sign it quick enough. So I'm going to the Navy. Before I leave, I find out that the place was a bigger bullshitter than we were. They said they got robbed of $15,000 instead of $1,500, so they collected on the insurance. And now I'm on my way to the Navy. So I think I'm going to Florida too. It's October 29th, 1973. I ended up graduating early. I was supposed to be a senior. So my father, I said, Dad, here, take my coat. He goes, you're not going to need your coat? I said, I'm not going to need a coat in Florida. So I get on the plane, and we land in Chicago O'Hare Airport. Everybody gets off the plane except me. And the stewardess comes over and she says, is there a problem? I said, yeah, are we picking people up? I'm supposed to be going to Florida. She says, let me see your ticket. And I show it to her. She goes, that's line number 1. You better hurry up and catch up with the rest of them, get on the bus. I get on the bus. I'm freezing. It's really cold in Chicago. They put us in a big hangar, and they have these tables and these bins. And then the company commander says, okay, I want all the New Yorkers on one side and everyone else over here. So all the New Yorkers get over on this side. And he says, all right, we're going to turn around. We want all your knives, guns, chains, whatever you brought, throw it in, and nobody get in trouble. And I'm thinking, this is a little melodramatic, right? They turn around, and the guy behind me starts shifting around, and he throws the switchblade in the thing. I'm like, holy shit. I want to go home. I don't like this already. It's about almost midnight, right? We get assigned our bunks. There's 84 guys in my company. And the guy says, Montez, get up here. And I run up. I say, yeah? He goes, you say yes, sir. And I love Abner Costello in the Navy and Buck Privates. And I want to say, hey, you don't have to call me sir. But I figured, I'm tired. I don't want to make any more trouble for myself. I say, yes, sir. He says, you got the first watch. And then he gives me a gun, a rifle. he says, okay, when you're done with the first, after an hour, you wake up Menachello. Menachello, come up here. Menachello's like, yes, sir. He's like making me look really bad, Menachello. He goes, Montes has the first watch. He's going to wake you up in an hour, and then you have the watch. Yes, sir. And he goes back to his bunk. So the captain, the company commander, has to do some things. I'm sitting on the floor with the gun between my legs. And he comes back up after he's doing what he's got to do. And he says, what are you doing? I said, I'm watching. He said, get up. I'm not going to have any problems with you. You got to stand here at parade rest and log in if anything happens. And I'm thinking, we didn't even learn parade rest yet. How do, but I don't want to get in any more trouble with him. I'm standing and watch for about 15 minutes, and I am so tired. I just want to go to sleep. And I'm thinking, tomorrow, I know the first thing we do is getting our haircuts. Maybe he won't recognize me when I get my hair cut.
What is that for?
You're
What?
having way too much fun.
Okay, I'm just telling the story.
I would like for you to tell them about the haunted house.
The haunted house?
The haunted house.
All right, you done with this?
Yes. The next decider who comes up, do a better job.
Yeah, so it wasn't my fault. So, the haunted house. Oh, okay. So, maybe you guys know a little bit more about what was going on the other side with this freaking house. So my friend Gary had rented this house in Van Nuys, right? And what we knew about the house, it had been moved from Bunker Hill in the 50s. The guy who owned it was a ballet dancer from Russia who had defected. And he died in the house. He died in the room that Gary sleeps in, actually. So we're playing poker one night, right? I said, Gary, it's okay, I go get a beer? He goes, yeah, go ahead. As I'm walking towards the kitchen, I'm hearing this noise. And I'm thinking it's the refrigerator, right? I'm thinking maybe the motor's bad. I said, Gary, I think maybe there's something wrong with the refrigerator motor. He says, no, that's not the motor, that's the flies. I said, the flies? What the flies? As I get into the kitchen, it's getting louder, louder. To the left, there's a big window with, the whole thing's covered with flies. And the flies are vibrating against the glass and buzzing. And I'm like, what the fuck? Jimmy, Gary, come here. So Jimmy and Gary come. Jimmy sees the flies. He freaks out by the flies too. And Gary goes, what's the matter? I said, what's the matter? What's with the flies? He goes, oh, they're just flies. I said, what do you mean just flies? When did you ever see that many flies up against a window? Maybe there's something dead in the wall or out there. That don't freak you out? He goes, you guys? I'm driving Jimmy, dropping him off. I said, what do you think about those flies? He goes, I don't know, it's fucked up. It's fucked up. About a week later, Gary calls us. He says, hey, we got a swimming pool. You want to come swimming? I said, yeah. First thing you notice as soon as you walk out the back door is this guy who owned the house wanted his privacy. Because you can't see in on this side, or this side. It's got Italian spruce trees, bamboo everywhere. It's about 30 feet high. That's the first thing. Then as you get down the stairs, there's these 13 little concrete, demonic-looking cupids. They're concrete, and they got blood coming from their daggers, and they're all looking at each other, except one at the end is just looking off. And it's right outside Gary's window. And I said, oh, fuck, Gary, what's with these statues? He goes, what, they're just statues? I said, Gary, they're not statues, they're demonic-looking motherfuckers. They're right outside your window. That don't make you nervous? He goes, you actors. Jimmy and I driving home said, what do you think? Would you sleep in the... First, I'm not sleeping in the bed the guy died in. He didn't sleep in the same bed, but the room. And then you got that shit outside there. And he's not freaked out by it. A week later, Gary says, hey, guys, come on over, let's go swimming. Try to avoid the statues. He's got a pretty big backyard. We're throwing the football around, and I miss it. And it goes in these hedges. So as I'm digging through the hedges, I feel this concrete base. I don't know what it is yet. And I'm digging, and there's like this gnarled, like dragon kind of foot. And a little slower as I'm pulling the ivy away. Ugh. There's like this 5-foot statue of the devil with this ram's horns. He's got blood dripping from his fangs. It's concrete. And that little motherfucker I thought was looking at nothing, he's looking at him. And I'm like, Gary, Jimmy, and the vines go back like this. I said, all right, Gary, tell me about this. But I don't want to touch it no more, so I get the rake, right? I said, what's this? And I push it so you can see the head of the devil. Jimmy goes back on his ass, and Gary's like, all right, so it's a statue, and the ivy grew over it over the years. I said, Gary, come on, it's just a statue, it's a fucking devil. He goes, you guys with your imaginations. We didn't have cell phones. I could have taken pictures. I dropped Jimmy off. I said, something weird is going on in this fucking house, right? And Gary's got a roommate. I forgot to mention her, Pam. She was very nice to us in the beginning, but now when we see her, she don't pay attention to us. She kind of say, hey, Pam, and she just like hugs the wall, goes in the house, and don't talk. I say, what the fuck is with her now? We're doing extra work at the time. And we see this girl. I see this girl, and she's reading something on the occult. And Gary's going to have a housewarming party. I said, Jimmy, invited Gary's housewarming party. Maybe she could tell us about the house. He goes, all right, so he invites her. We pick her up. I was married to Kathy at the time. Pick her up, park, we're walking in the house, and she stops at the steps. She goes, you got to take me home. I said, did you forget something? She goes, no, I won't go in this house. I said, what do you mean you won't go in the house? She goes, there's an evil presence in this house. I said, we think there's an evil presence in this house too. Can you just come in? And she goes, no, I won't go in. I said, okay, Gary has his car parked up to the fence. And I think if we stand on his bumper, you might be able to see those guys. So I said, could you just look over the fence and what is that? So she does, and then she like falls off the thing. She goes, that's a witch's circle. You got to take me home. So Kathy takes her home and go back and say, listen, Gary, we had someone here who knows about this stuff. She wouldn't even come in the house. And she says that's a witch's circle. He's like, you guys, it's nothing. There's nothing wrong. One day we're going to go out, right? Gary's taking a shower. Pam comes out of her room, and she takes off. We hear the car take off. But she never comes out of her room. Whenever we come, she just goes in that room. So I said, Jimmy, let's just go look in her room and see what's going on in there. He goes, Tony, come on. I'm not going in her room. I said, we'll just open up the door and see what's in it. Why does she never come out? He goes, all right, but really quick, and then close the door. So we go over. Ugh. I open the door. The light's bleeding in. I can't find the light switch. The light's bleeding in from the hallway, and the first thing you notice is the bed is like in the middle of the room. It's not by a window, or it's just in the middle of the room, and at a weird angle. And the walls are purple and gold, and so that's a little weird. And Jimmy's like, come on, Tony, let's just go. And we start to leave, but you know that feeling you have like somebody's watching you? And then when you look, they are? We start to get that feeling, right? And we look back, but it's not like back. We look back and look on the ceiling. Ugh. And right above her ceiling where she sleeps was this painting of this demonic-looking Cupid, like in color, shooting a fiery heart down at her, right under where she's sleeping. We hear the shower shut off, and we close the door, and it's like, what the fuck is with that, man? How could you sleep with that thing? She's getting fucking possessed by this house. Gary's getting changed. We'd never been in his room, right? He's getting dressed. And I noticed to the right, I thought it was this closet door. The handle's been broken off. And it must have been broken off a while ago, because you see the wood is like splintered, and it just like broke it with a sledgehammer or something. I said, Gary, how in the hell do you get into your closet with a broken handle like that? He goes, that doesn't go to the closet. That goes to the attic. I said, the attic? What's in the attic? He goes, I don't know. The landlord's son who runs the house says, you can have use of the house, just don't go in the attic. I said, well, why is he telling you don't go in the attic? What's happening in the attic? Let's go in the attic. But not now. It's nighttime. I'm not going in the fucking attic at night. Let's go tomorrow morning. So by this point, Kathy, my ex-wife, says, I'm going to. So we stop at 99-cent store, get a couple of flashlights, get batteries, and we decide, okay, who's going to go up first? I said, well, I'll go. It's my idea. And Gary goes, okay, I'll go. Jimmy's not really volunteered. Kathy's like, I'll go. I said, no, I'll go, right? And it's this A-frame house. Now, we had to break into the house once before. It was old, so if you shook the windows, it had a latch that would open. And we're hoping that's the case up here. We get up there, and we look up, and it's like we duck down, and it's like, oh shit, somebody's in the attic. So we wait a couple of minutes, and then nobody's come to the window, and we look in again, it's like, oh no, it's nobody. He's got costumes all down the side of this A-frame house, so that's what I thought was the person. Play at the window, we get in. As soon as we walk in, there's this box on this rust-stained sheet, and there's cards in it. And I pick up the first card, and it says, thanks for the party, in quotes, especially the entertainment. And it's a guy dressed in drag and another guy, and the weird expressions on his face. It must be around Christmas because there's a Christmas tree in the background. And I said, Gary, what the fuck was the entertainment that they're quoting? I bet you're doing sacrifices back here. He goes, and that's the first time Gary showed any kind of nerves. He says, all right, Tony, let's just go. I said, all right, but before we go, let's see what's behind your door. So we went with our little 99-cent flashlights, right? And we're going through this thing, and we shine our lights down behind his door, but it hits something on the wall. And as we come back on the wall, hung on the wall facing Gary's room is about a 4x6 painting with nothing but eyeballs. Eyeballs with daggers dragged out like Salvador Dali eyes. And I'm like, oh my God, Gary, that wall is looking at, and my light goes out. And we go screaming trying to get out of the fucking attic. He's going down the stairs. I get on the part over the kitchen. I just jump to the ground. My flashlight pops on. And we're breathing heavy. And it's like, what's going on up there? So we're trying to tell Kathy and Jimmy. But while I'm on the ground, I notice to my right, there's hedges, right? And there's a basement. I said, Gary, what's in the basement? He goes, basement? I didn't even know there was a basement. I said, I think there's a basement behind those hedges. Let's move them, let's go see. So Kathy's, I'm going now too, and Jimmy's, I'm going now too. So we go, and it's open, but it's hidden by the hedges, so we gotta pull the hedges away. And when we get down there, there's like vents all around the house, so light from the sun is spilling through. And there's boxes, hundreds of boxes. So we spread out, we start looking through these boxes. And all these boxes have the same thing in them. Different printings, the play version, the opera version, and it's all the same thing. We go through about 20 boxes, and it's all Faust. So I say, all right, guys, let's just get out of here. You guys got all Faust too? Yeah. What's the matter? I said, I'll tell you outside. I won't tell you under here. And I tell them Faust is a story about a guy who sold his soul to the devil. So we never go back to the house after that. But I teach acting, and I'm telling my class one day about the house, and I said, where's the house? And I said, oh, I'll show you. So we drive to Van Nuys, and the house is burnt down. It's gone. And there's big, like 8-foot pieces of plywood, so you can't see in the back. It must have been a bad fire, because I can see where some of the trees were burned. Maybe 3 years later, I'm telling someone else about the house, and I say, all right, I'll take you there, but the house is gone. It's back. They built the house back again, except there's not windows up there. In fact, I have a visual aid for this story, actually, because the house so freaked me out. Show you. But it looks very inviting when you see the damn house now, but okay. So, oh, there you go. That's the house. That's the house now.
Ah! What? What?
This is not show and tell.
Okay. All right. Well, there's a house. Anyway, that's that story. I'm sorry.
Deciders, one of you spin.
Oh shit. Now, this is not going to be good for me, I can tell you right now. Eva. I don't remember how I met Eva. But she came into my life about 1999. I had my own group. I called it the Artist Theater Group. And I would put up plays with that group, and I would teach in that group. So I was putting up a play. She was part of the play with somebody else. And I don't know, we started hanging out. I gotta take it back a little bit. So I'm married the second time now, right? And in 1999, September, the marriage just wasn't working. So I told Joelle, I said, listen, it's not working. We can still be friends, but I want a divorce. She did not take it well. So I thought, all right, maybe it's me. I quit things too easy. I'll try to stay with it. In January 2000, it's still not working. So I tell her again that I want a divorce. And she tells me she's pregnant. And she had stopped taking the pill. I'm $65,000 in debt from all the plays that I had put up at this point and lost money on. I didn't get into it yet, but I had a shit father. My father was a physically abusive, emotionally abusive, alcoholic. And basically the shit beat out of me from the time I was 5, and had a whole distorted view of women because of my father. When I was about 6, my father took me to the Brentwood, this bar that he hung out, and he gave me a quarter and he'd buy me a Coke with a cherry on it. And he'd go in the back room with the barmaid. And I'd hear them making noises and not know what it is. And on the way home, the first time, I'm somewhere between 5 and 7. And he says, Anthony, he's drunk, he's drinking scotch, and that's not good. He says, fuck everything but family. I said, all right. Not quite sure what fuck means, but all right, Dad. And he says, if you say anything to your mother about Jeannie, I'll kill you. So I lived in a house where I thought at any time my father could take me out. Women became a very important thing to prove I was a man and to win the love of my father. It was all about how much I was getting laid. Anyway, I meet Eva. And now I still want this divorce. And now I find out we're pregnant. I think I'm going to be a real shit father because I already had one. I got no example of what it is to be a good father. I don't want to be tied to this woman for the rest of my life. I'm $65,000 in debt, and all I ever wanted to do in my life is be an actor. And if it meant waiting tables and doing black box theater, then I'm good with that. And then, I don't know, me and Eva start spending more time together. And I'm in therapy at this time, so I'm telling the therapist, I'm just going to move out. And she says, I don't think it's a good idea for you to move out. I said, why? She goes, because Joelle's angry, and I don't know what would happen during the pregnancy. You got to stay. So I'm thinking, man, I am never going to meet anyone. I'm $65,000 in debt. I don't have a good job. I'm divorced and I got a kid. But for Eva, she's very understanding. She's very, I don't know. We start spending a lot of time together and fall in love. And while I'm still married, I ask her to marry me. I get engaged. I wanted to lock it in. I was afraid to be out there by myself. So we would sneak time, and Eva had another thing. We met, we had this spiritual connection. We had just read Further Along the Road Less Traveled. I love the book The Road Less Traveled, but this one, Further Along, we really related this one thing about sex and spirituality. And in it, it says that we were once like the gods. And the gods were pissed off, so it was split down the middle, and you spend the rest of your life trying to find your other half. And we both agree with this. And it says, you are in your most godlike state when you're with your soulmate, when you're together, and more specifically during intercourse. So Eva and I were in our most godlike state every chance we got. But she wanted to take it to a different level. So she loved missions. So we would go to these missions and have sex outside the mission, on graveyards at the mission, trying to have that spiritual connection, be in almost godlike state. Yeah, she loved sex outdoors. Once we started in a confessional, like, and but the priest came in, and it's like, we didn't do that no more. After Joelle gave birth, a couple months after that, Eva, right around that time, she wanted to study with the hugging mother in India. I didn't know who the hugging mother was. The woman who goes around the world, hugs a lot of people. And she was going to be a disciple of the hugging mother. And I thought, all right, that's good. I need some time to figure things out. And then while she was gone for that month, not that I was falling back in love, but I'm thinking, I don't know about this whole hugging mother thing, and I don't know if this is going to work out. I think I got to break off this engagement. I'm not even divorced yet. And then she said that she was going to be traveling. What did I think about her traveling for a few months? And then she traveled, and we never saw each other again. So, yeah, that was Eva. So.
Deciders.
I do want to say, though, I would do things different than I did then. I mean, I would not be getting engaged while I'm married anymore.
Dream about Matthew.
Dream about Matthew. So when my son was born, now I'm telling you how much I regretted and was fearful of becoming a father. When Matthew was about 2, I didn't know it was a dream at the time, I thought it was real life. But we're driving in Van Nuys, and these gangbangers pull up alongside us and shoot into the car, and Matthew gets shot. It's a dream. But at the moment, I didn't know it was a dream. So I pull up to St. Joseph's in Burbank, and I'm running with Matthew. He's in my arms, and I'm saying, hey, Matthew, hang on. I'm with you. It's going to be okay. And I lay him down on the gurney, and there's a huge clock ticking down. There's a sheriff, a nurse, my ex-wife, Joelle, and the doctor. And the doctor has a stethoscope on Matthew. And he looks at me and goes, I'm sorry, he's not going to make it. He's got 10 seconds. And the clock is ticking down. And I say, Joelle, what I'm going to do, I got to do, but there's not going to be any insurance money. And before it hits 10, I grab the sheriff's gun and I shoot myself. And then we're in this otherworldly place, and we're online. And all these people are gray and shades of gray, and Matthew and I are in color. And I says, okay, Matthew, I'm here with you. I'm with you. And we separated very quickly. And when I had Matthew, I never left him with anybody else. My time with Matthew was our time. I never left him with anybody, except his mother. So I didn't have much of a social life during that time. I dropped my agent, I dropped my manager, and I was just going to be dad. And my father did give me something good. He gave me exactly what not to do. So I had this great manual. So I'm with him, and then we get up to these 2 hooded figures, and there's a line going to the right and a line going to the left. And they're trying to separate us. They're not talking, they're just trying to separate us. And they want Matthew to go down one side and me to go down another. And I said, no, I didn't just kill myself. I didn't want him to come here alone. And then I woke up and I was so emotional. I realized, oh my God, I have never loved this strongly about anyone or anything in my life. You know, and it made total sense to me because I hadn't let him go anywhere in life alone without me. How could I let him go into death alone? And yeah, that's my heart, my son. So that's Matthew. That's that dream. So.
Anthony,
Yeah.
talk about candy.
Oh shit. All right. So I told you about my father. And I told you how we then related, and it was really just about, how many times you get laid, Anthony? Oh, great. The Navy was great because then I had a lot to talk about. When I got out of the Navy, I didn't have a job. I actually did have a couple of jobs, and I got fired from them. I worked in a mental hospital, and, as a janitor, and then that wasn't working out so good. And then I worked in a graveyard, and one day the guys buried it where the feet were at the head, and the head was down there. So I thought that was wrong. I said, guys, we got to pull it out and switch it. And they said, yeah, well, who's going to know? And something about that just seemed wrong, and I reported it, and they had to dig it up. Anyway, so I had a lot of jobs, and at this point where I meet Candy, I'm going to be a painter in the painters union, but I'm only getting $50 a day while I'm being trained. And every day afterwards, I guess that 50 went a long way, we go to the Lemon Tree, which was a topless bar. And one day I'm sitting at the bar, and this gorgeous girl with long black hair down to here. I said, listen, we don't have to get married right away if you don't want to. We can live together, see if it works out. And she goes, excuse me? I said, and kids, we don't have to have kids right away either if you don't want to have kids. And she goes, I said, you're gorgeous. And she goes, yeah. I said, no, really, you are gorgeous. And do you know what I would do if I were you? And she goes, no, what would you do if you were me? I said, I would go out with me to dinner and a movie, and you know what you'd be telling your friends the next day? She goes, no, what would I be telling my friends? I said, you'd be saying, oh my God, I met this guy, Tony Montez, and I had the greatest time of my life. She said, that's what I'd be saying? I said, have I ever lied to you before? And she says, okay. I said, okay, you go out with me? She goes, yeah, okay. I said, okay, I got a problem though. I don't have a car. Do you think maybe you could pick me up? She said, where do you live? I said, Ronkonkoma. She goes, I live in Farmingdale. I said, all right, if it's too far, I understand. She goes, no, I'll pick you up. Well, I thought this was going to be like the greatest badge I'd be able to put on my check-off list. We spent the night together, and I couldn't wait to tell my father. Not just my father, my friends, my brother. Oh my God, you got to see this girl Candy I just fucked. She's at the Lemon Tree. So they all go to see her, my father included. But Candy and I start dating, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm starting to fall in love with her. That was really fucked up. Now everybody knows what my girlfriend looks like naked. So I stopped seeing all my friends. I don't want to bring my father around her, because I know what my father must be thinking. And then the first year was pretty good. You know, I didn't understand why she was dancing, so I said, listen, if we're going to continue to dance, I know me. I can't date you if you're going to be a stripper. She goes, well, I'll quit. I never wanted to do it anyway. I said, you quit? I said, why did you start doing it? And she told me she had been married before. Her husband had been in Vietnam. They were very much in love. And coming home on Christmas Eve from Christmas Day shopping, she's bringing stuff in, and she hears a skid and a thump and a car horn. And she runs out, and her husband had been hit by the car, and he's dying, and he dies in her arms. She tries to kill herself that night. She does not want to be without him. She has to go into a hospital for 28 days. When she comes out, she starts to live with his sister, because she wants to be as close to him as she can. The sister's a stripper, so she starts stripping, and that was the way it went. So she quits, and she had made a lot of money. She had she wasn't a drinker, she didn't have drugs. She spent all the money on her family. She bought this brand new Lincoln Continental cash, and I moved in with her. And I had to quit. I was studying acting at HB Studios. I needed to save money. I was working 2 jobs. I was getting paid. I was doing road construction, and I was working in a book factory. And I was about 15 pounds heavier. She was a great cook. She was always cooking for me. And then within the first year, her sister gets married, and all I hear about how she wants to get married, she wants to have kids, and I'm thinking, I'm always worried that if money gets tight, she's going to go back to dancing. So, and I'm not cool with it, and I don't want to be a father. The second year, all we do is argue. She gets a job at the A&P, which is a supermarket. But all of a sudden, we're eating better than I know I'm giving her money for. And I don't want to challenge her. I'm thinking, you don't tell me you've gone back to stripping. And she tells me, I didn't ask her, said, how are you getting all these steaks and these lobster tails? Oh, I know, I'm able to push them through. I said, all right. One day, I go with the guys from work. I meet my friend Charlie at the Lemon Tree. We're at the bar, and he goes, Tony, doesn't that dancer look like Candy? And I turn around, and she's up on stage. And I was drunk because we had already been somewhere else, so I'm pretty fried. So I go up, and it was lunchtime, so there's a lot of construction workers in there. And I said, what the fuck are you doing here? And she goes, Tony, I'm so sorry. And there's a construction worker. He goes, hey, buddy, leave it alone. I said, shut the fuck up. He touches me again, and I hit him. And we start fighting, and they usher her out. And then my friends start fighting with his friends, and they call the cops. And they bring me outside of the bar, and I'm crying. I said, listen, my girlfriend, she's gone back to stripping. And the cop says, listen, you go back in there, we got to lock you out. Drive home, and we don't want to hear that you come back here. So they give me my keys, and I'm really drunk, and I got this little MG midget. And I go on Sunrise Highway, and they're following me for a while, and then they get a call, and I do a U-turn going into the oncoming traffic.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck about nothing. And cars are moving out of my way, and it's probably about a half a mile of that, and then I go skidding into the Lemon Tree. She's not there, and the guy I hit the first time, I don't see him, he clocks me, we start fighting again. And then my friends say, Tony, you gotta get out of here, and I get out of here, we hear the cops, and I go home. I go home, oh my God, I was listening to this Frank Sinatra. I was like, who is it? The blonde in Fatal Attraction, Glenn Close. I'm like the Glenn Close character. I'm just fucking drinking everything. And she's got a wall full of Marilyn Monroe pictures. She loves Marilyn Monroe. And they're drunk, or I'm getting them looking at these Marilyn Monroes looking at me, and I'm thinking, what, am I a joke? You think I'm funny? Big fucking joke? So I punched one of them, and it felt good to see the blood splattered on the window, on the glass, and I don't know how many paintings, and I fractured one of my hands, and I got glass in my hands, and then finally Charlie comes over and says, Tony, you gotta go, she's not coming back. Let's just go, I'll help you move your stuff. I said, Charlie, but you saw what happened. He goes, yeah, Tony, but you just gotta go. Maybe 10 years go by, I'm now living in California. I'm with Charlie again, and we're gonna go have a drink, and we're passing the Dollhouse. It's another strip place. And I see this black Lincoln Continental, and I said, Charlie, I think that's Candy's car. He goes, Tony, come on, let's not start that again. I said, let's just go in. If she freaks out if she sees me, then we'll just leave. But I'd just like to see how she's been doing, And when we walk in there, she's dancing. And it's like time stood still on her. I mean, she looked gorgeous. 10 years had passed. And she sees me, and I'm still by the door in case she's not happy. And she goes to stay, so we stay. And then we catch up. And it sucked for her because what she wanted in life was to be a mother. She wanted to be married. And she was no longer able to have kids. She had an IUD and it got infected, and she could never have kids. And she was married, and that was the last time I saw her. But yeah, I was a real fucking asshole about that. So.
Deciders.
Do you want them to grab something?
Yes. Deciders.
Can I say something good about myself, though? Because I think I'm coming off really bad here.
I was hoping that one of the deciders can pick.
Okay.
If you do, one free consultation with God.
The suicide attempt.
Okay. So, this isn't my first time doing this. On July 4th, 1983, I was 27. I was having an affair with someone I worked with, and we went for drinks, and she was going to go back to her husband, and all my friends were going out to the Hamptons. They all had girlfriends, and I never thought I was going to have love in my life. I was convinced I was a piece of shit from my father, that I would never really have love. Nobody would ever love me. And I was really depressed. I was working 3 jobs just to pay my rent. I'm not getting any closer to being an actor. And I'm going up the elevator in Queens, and the train's coming. And I think, I need to silence my father's voice in my head. And I saw the train and I jumped. And I had my bag that had my work clothes, and that dropped to the street below. And now the train is coming. I thought of my mother, and I thought, oh my God, I can't do this to my mother. What is she going to identify? I'll be like in pieces. I had no time to think, and there was like a chain link fence, and I jumped to the right. I was able to pull myself in, but the train came by and clipped me, fractured my arm. They positioned the train so they can get to me. And there was so much blood, I thought I lost my arm. And I said to the conductor, I says, my arm there? And he says, yeah, your arm's there. I said, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna go. He says, no, you can't go, you're going into shock, the ambulance is coming, you gotta stay here. So they take me to Elmhurst Hospital, and there's no cell phone, so there's a real nasty nurse, and I didn't tell anybody I jumped. I told everybody I slipped, that I was running for the train, and I slipped, and I fell onto the tracks. She says, you gotta call somebody to come pick you up. I said, all right, so I called my mother, and we got a thing that if I start to really cry heavy, I can't talk. And my mother's like that. And all she had to do was say, Anthony, what happened? And then I couldn't talk, so I gave the phone to the nurse, and the nurse said, Anthony's been hit by a train, you gotta come to someone's gotta come to Elmhurst Hospital and pick him up, and she hangs up. I'm like, you can't tell my mother got hit by a train and hang up on her? So I gotta borrow change, I gotta call her back. I said, Mom, I'm okay. So she wakes up my father, I find out years later, and says, we gotta go to Elmhurst Hospital. Anthony's been hit by a train. And my father goes, you go. So that tells you about my relationship with my father. You know, he thinks his son's been hit by a train. You don't know what kind of shape I'm in. And you're sending your wife into, I don't know, pick up the pieces. It was years later that I finally I even had a lawyer. Somebody says, well, you gotta get a lawyer, you gotta sue them.
Yeah.
So to keep the facade going, I said, okay, yeah, I'll go see a lawyer. So I had this friends, and they get me this lawyer, Santos Scalato. And he goes, oh, we're gonna make millions. We're gonna do good on this. And it's like, I don't feel good about it. I mean, I like the millions, but I don't feel good about this whole thing. And I just stopped calling him and never did anything with it. I never said anything to anybody, but then I had a friend who was in rehab, and they were talking about suicide. And I was with my brother, I was with my friend JD, and I felt like a phony standing there, so that's when the first time I admitted it out loud that I had tried to kill myself too. So, yeah. And after that, I went to therapy and I did a lot of things. You know, I wanted to change. I guess I didn't change that much because I'm back here again. Well, no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to leave you with that impression. I have changed a lot, actually. Actually, I have changed a lot. I'm not the person that I was. It took me a long time, right? 27, and at 37, I was working on A Dreamer Examines His Pillow, and in it, Tommy is trying, he's got to change. And I find myself at the same place. I cannot continue this way. I need to change. So in the play, Tommy's painting, and he's trying to figure himself out, put it up on a canvas. So he can only put back what he wants. So I get paints, brushes, easel, and I'm painting, and all I'm doing is giving myself another hang-up how bad I paint. I'm not getting shit out of this. So I start writing. I was born March 11, 1956. And I'm in therapy. And for 6 weeks, I write out my life. Right? And each week, I would bring the papers to my therapist, hoping that she'd say, hey, Anthony, here's your problem on page 56, man. Just rip it out. You're good to go. Right? And I was very honest. I wasn't writing a book or anything. I was just writing out my life. 203 pages, single space. And I read it once. And our lives really read like a book. I mean, things I didn't like about myself, things I felt guilty about. When you get up to that point in your life, I realize I'm judging myself by what I know now. I didn't know any of this when I was a kid or throughout my life. And everything I've done, every bad mistake I've made, that was my best. That was my best with the tools I had. But I had to recognize certain things about myself. That if I didn't want to become my father, I had to change. So I went to Zuma Beach, I drew a line in the sand, and I screamed out over the ocean, I don't take any responsibility for anything I've ever done. It's all my father's fault. He's 37 and a half. From this day forward, I'm taking responsibility. So I realized I had to get rid of drugs and I had to get rid of alcohol. And I did. And I stopped drugs forever. And I stopped drinking for 14 and a half years. And then later on, I was missing having a drink here and there, and I can drink, but I'm not drinking to kill the pain. So, anyway, I've done a lot of work on myself, and I'm not the same person from those stories that you heard. You know, I think people who knew me back then would look at me and say, "Anthony, what happened? You got so sensitive." And people who know me now, they would have a hard time imagining.
Okay. What is your positive story that you would like to tell?
Shit, I thought that was a positive story. Okay.
Billy Jack?
No, I don't know how positive that is, but I've always been an actor. I don't know. I love this movie, Billy Jack, right? And luckily, I had just seen it this week. I just moved out to California, and there was this place called the China Trader. And Gary, we were going to meet him in this bar. And Gary had left us some pot and some hash before, so we're pretty high by the time we go into the China Trader. And we go in there, and Gary's just like, it's like, what's Gary doing? He's just like dancing by himself. And we see Gary, and he's up there dancing. And as we get closer, we see he's in a sea of little people. That it was right by Warner Brothers, and they were filming something. So all these little people came over for drinks and dancing. And it was surreal too, because we're stoned. So I sit down, and Jimmy can't get up there and dance quick enough. A little lady comes over and says, "You want to dance?" And he's out there dancing. And a little lady comes over to me and says, "You want to dance?" I said, "No, I don't dance, and I don't dance. I don't dance with anybody." And then I'm making it worse. I don't want to say that I'm not going to dance with, you know. So I said, "I just don't dance. I'm not a dancer. I'm just going to go get some drinks." So I go to the bar, and I'm getting a drink. It's crowded. And I get pushed, and my drink spills. And I can see in the corner of my eye, this guy's sitting with his girlfriend. Just kind of the last part of the set. So I lean over and say, "Hey," you can say, "Excuse me." And he says, "Hey, fuck you." I said, "Fuck me, fuck you." He goes, you want to go outside New York?" I said, "Yeah, I'll go outside with you." But Jimmy and Gary out there dancing, so they don't know I'm in trouble. And I didn't know how much trouble I was in until the guy started standing up. And the guy just keeps standing. He's like 6'3". And I'm like, oh shit, I'm dead. I'm going to get killed. So we walk outside, and as we're walking out, I'm thinking, Billy Jack. So I start taking off my shoes as I'm walking, and I turn around and say, "Listen, I'm only going to tell you once because I got it by law. I'm a 4th degree black belt in Okinawa Goju. I'm going to take my right foot, put it on the right side of your face, and break your fucking jaw, and there's not a fucking thing you can do about it." And I'm getting in my stance, which is more of a get the fuck out of here stance. And he goes, well, wait a minute, what kind of kung fu do you know? I said, "Don't make like you didn't hear me. I'm a 4th degree black belt in Okinawa Goju. I'm going to take my right foot, put it on the right side of your face, break your fucking jaw. There's not a fucking thing you can do about it." And he goes, and the girlfriend's been trying to pull him back in. She goes, "Come on, but he goes, no, he's a tough guy, but let's not fight here. It's too close to the entrance. Let's go back there." So, all right, wherever. I have my shoes on, and we're walking through, and there's little pebbles. So to myself, I'm like, ouch, 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 right? But I can't show him ouch, ouch, right? And now, when we get in the back, I see his 2 friends are coming out the back door. And I said, "You gotta be fucking kidding me. 3 of you? This is gonna be fucking fun. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my right foot, put it on the right side of your fucking face, break your fucking jaw. There's not a fucking thing you can do about it." And now my stance is more like this, right? By this time, the bouncer had come out with the 2 other bouncers, and he goes, "All right, like, what's going on here?" And the big guy says, "He started it." And the bouncer says, "He started it. It looks like there's 3 of you and 1 of him." So the girlfriend who'd been saying, let's go, they finally said, "Fuck this place," and they leave. I go back for my shoes, and I'm like, ouch, 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 ouch. I put on my shoes, and the bouncer goes, "Listen, I study martial arts." "What kind of martial arts do you know?" I said, "I don't know any martial arts. I watched Billy Jack this week." He goes, "Oh, fucking killer, come on in." So he starts calling me killer. He buys me dinner. He buys me drinks. Whenever I go there, I never have to wait online. "Killer, come on up, come on up." He always buys me the first drinks. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my Billy Jack story. So, yeah.
Enough.
What do you mean?
We've heard enough. Anthony, is there anything that you would like to say in your defense before the deciders make their decision?
Yeah. I really am not the person that I was. I've learned a lot of lessons, right? I've raised my son. He's 22. We have a great relationship. I don't know. I'm just a better person. I think people who know me would say I'm a better person. People who know me would think I'm a good guy. And also, when my mother passed away a couple of years ago, one of the last things we saw was Carousel, and we took my son, and he hated the ending. He hated it. He was so pissed off that this guy had an opportunity to come back down, and that the daughter doesn't even know he's there. My son Matthew would be so fucked up if I if I end things this way. I would really like to go back and complete myself. I don't want to leave things on this note with him. I'm not just doing it for him too, for myself. Anyway, I'm sorry. That's it.
Okay. Deciders, based on the evidence presented, you will vote. What is your decision? Does Anthony go back and complete himself, or does he take a seat with you and become a decider? Raise your hand if you think he should go back and complete himself.
Thank you. Thanks. Can I get my shoes?
Yes, Anthony, you can get your shoes.
Do I go back the way I came?
Yes, and the red canary is waiting for you.
I made it through. Ooh, if just for today. Ooh, I'm living proof that you'll find a way. I'm alive, I'm alive.
Thank you, guys.
Ooh, I raise my hands up high. I will rise. I'm alive. Lift my